Welcome back to Star or Shovelware, my name's Luke, and in today's review we're going to be taking a look at Golf Club Wasteland, a kind of 2D crazy golf game which sees you playing as an astronaut as he heads out for a spot of golf amongst the ruins of our once glorious home planet. Now the game aims to deliver an important message about our impact on the Earth and about the potential outcome of our actions, but does it offer an enjoyable gameplay experience and is it worth your cash? Well, hit that like button, subscribe to be notified of future reviews, and let's find out. So I'll start by saying that Golf Club Wasteland is heavily invested in the story of both our astronaut golfer and the desolate world in which he finds himself. The long and short of it is that humans basically ruined the Earth, making it no longer inhabitable, and a small group of astronauts headed to Mars to build a colony, with the rest of the planet's population to follow shortly after. Flash forward a few decades and the Earth has been left a barren wasteland that the ultra-rich now just use as a golf course. Now the story is delivered in a couple of different ways, the first being through diary entries which require you to complete each hole within a certain number of shots, and the second comes in the form of a radio station called Radio Nostalgia that our astronaut is listening to, which features people talking about the memories they have from back when they lived on Earth, and a song request which reminds them of it. Now I thought the radio show was incredibly well done, and it actually sounds like it could be a real show. The voice acting is top notch and the stories are believable, and as you work your way through the game, the broadcast also acts as a kind of tour guide as the astronaut comes across several of the locations that people are talking about. Overall, I thought the story did a great job of delivering the message it intended, and because the radio broadcast sounds so real as it delivers messages to Martian residents about recycling bodily fluids and reminding them to take the bone density pills, it really gets you thinking about what life could potentially be like if we continue to take what we have on this planet for granted. So gameplay in Golf Club Wasteland begins with a few simple introductory holes which teach you the controls, and there's really not a lot to learn with this one, with your left thumbstick used to adjust the angle and power of your strike and the A button taking the shot. Once you complete the tutorial, you then get to select from two different modes, those being Story Mode, which gives you an unlimited number of shots to complete stages, and Challenge Mode, which requires you to complete holes within a certain number of shots. And I personally went with Story Mode to start with, and I'm glad I did, because let me tell you now that Golf Club Wasteland is no relaxing walk in the park, and we'll soon get onto why shortly. Now if you've ever played a golf game, then you'll know exactly what to expect with this one. You whack a ball around the level, trying to get it into the hole beneath the flag in as few shots as possible, and gameplay in Golf Club Wasteland takes on a kind of crazy golf feel as you golf your way through the remnants of this broken planet, across abandoned cruise ships and rooftops, or through the middle of shopping malls, clubs and factories. Many of the game's levels contain unique features such as pipes which provide shortcuts through the level, or switches which operate machinery, and there are also plenty of hazards for you to avoid, including water or leaves to lose your ball in, or animals which will steal it or eat it. In all, there's some really good variety to the level design with this one, and the holes become progressively more difficult as you work your way through the latter half of its 35 levels. So now we get on to the not so good and the reason why Golf Club Wasteland is such a stressful game, and it all comes down to the core golfing mechanics. Now while aiming and taking your shots is incredibly simple, the big issue here is that there's absolutely no indication of how powerful your shot will be or how far it will travel, and this means that every single hole ends up being a game of trial and error as you try to work this out. If you look at any decent golf game, the one thing they all have in common is either distance markers to the hole or indications of how far each club will hit at full power, or if they're a more arcadey game like this one, then they generally have a fixed distance that each of your shots will go at max power. Now you may be thinking that those little white markers beneath your aimer indicate the power level, but this simply doesn't work as the perspective constantly shifts in and out depending on the size of the stage, and this also has an effect on the strength of your shots. Even after 30 holes, I was still finding it impossible to nail down exactly how much power I had to put into shots, and all of this trial and error just led me to feel incredibly frustrated, especially on the longer holes towards the end of the game, so I actually ended up skipping a lot of the holes because I just really didn't enjoy the golfing at all. This really is a shame, to be honest, because the story elements of the game are all incredibly well done, but in my opinion, they're really let down by the core gameplay mechanics. I'll end by saying that after my slog through story mode, I didn't even bother to play challenge mode, but if you manage to complete it, you also unlock iron mode, though I don't think I'll be playing that one anytime soon. So visually then, it goes without saying that Golf Club Wasteland is a visually impressive game, not in terms of the detail or the resolution of its graphics, but more in the overall art style and ambience, and the world that you travel through looks and feels abandoned with tons of tiny hints as to how and why it ended up collapsing. I really love the way in which it was presented with the remnants of its former inhabitants left behind, and it really does kind of paint a sad picture of what the people of the planet valued in the end, as you see half constructed buildings, factories still churning out produce, and giant Bitcoin looking tokens littering the landscape. On the audio side of things, I've already talked a lot about it in the story section, but alongside the talking parts, there's also some really good music in the game, ranging from smooth jazz tracks to Kraftwerk style EDM and dark trance anthems, and overall I'd say that the audio is the real star of the game here, as it does a fantastic job of delivering the story, as well as providing some decent tunes to play along to. So performance wise, I didn't experience any real issues when it comes to frame rate or visuals, and everything seems to run smoothly on the Switch. I've already mentioned the main bulk of the issues when it comes to gameplay, but there are a couple of additional problems. The first being that it's sometimes hard to distinguish between the foreground and the background, which often resulted in me smacking my ball against a solid object that I thought was just scenery, and the second being that the game isn't always consistent in its terrain. What I mean by this is that on one occasion a railing might completely block your ball, and then the next time you encounter the same railing, your ball will pass right through it, and this kind of inconsistency just adds to the overall frustrating nature of the gameplay. With all things considered then, when it comes to my own personal rating, I'm going to be giving Golf Club Wasteland 2 out of 5 stars. The game had the potential to offer both a great narrative as well as being a fun to play golf game, but after stressing my way through 35 holes, unfortunately it's not one that I'd recommend for the gameplay, but it is worth playing if only to experience the storyline. And so that about does it for this Nintendo Switch review of Golf Club Wasteland. Don't forget to hit that like button if it helped you out, let me know your thoughts and opinions on the game in the comment section below, and if you watch my content regularly and are not yet subscribed, then please consider doing so. For now though, I just want to thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and game on.